Oh ja, vielen Dank. Alright. So I was just saying, today I was like inside a lot. It's like a bit being like in hell. I deny myself to go outside until being inside makes me so angry that I use that energy to just go. And that's why right now I hate recording myself, but I use that hatred to do it anyway. So instead of manifesting just hatred, I try to manifest love. And love is being creative. And so today I worked on my ping pong mind games. And I usually, when I start being creative, I have to push through the barrier of fear that stops me from being creative. And that means I have to get going. I have to make the first step, and that usually means also I feel myself. Amy, come. Amy, come. Right? Now she has all kinds of needs. Okay, she has to pee. I get that. She hasn't been outside. Sometimes I have to pee, then I go and pee. I get it. She also has a bladder. Pressure builds up, makes her anxious. She's waiting all day until somebody walks her. I'm not a dog. Nobody's gonna walk me. And that's the only thing that she has. It's either sitting around or being taken for a walk. And the walks in her life are a maximum of maybe 4 hours a day. Yeah, it's a good day. Maybe it's going to be 5 hours. Today I use 1440 pixels. I think that's the width. And 30 frames per second. I'm just trying different settings. I want to figure out which one works for me. And maybe I'm just going to change it every time. And until I figure out also during which weather to use which settings. Right, so I'm introducing change, and that gives me the freedom to find out what works when. So today I wear shorts, yeah, because I felt like it. Because the long trousers, they also restrict me in a certain way. But today I wanted to feel and to have some extra discomfort. Und Sitz. Sitz. Ja. Und los. You see, I want her to sit every time. I was just recording an episode called Spirituality. So there's the word spirit, and inside the word is the word rituality. That means you need a certain set of things that you do when you feel a certain way. This morning I felt like blah, that's how I like to express it when I'm, full with emotions. And something else I have talked about is that emotions are the female side of creation, and that's chaos. That's what spices life, right? To create life, that bit of uncertainty. And higher wisdom, connecting with higher self, is what is the masculine side. But the problem is when you are too much in your mind, right? You don't go out and feel. So there's a mind and emotional balance. So you feel your way out of the depression by using your mind to balance what method. It's like balancing it out. You know, you take a method in your mind and you place it on a scale. You're not the kind of scale that has just one thing, you know, like these electronic scales. Think about these scales where, let's say you take your emotions, you have the scale, and you put your emotions onto one side of the scale. And then, right on the right side, let's say on the left side you put your emotions. Maybe that's the feminine side, you know, that could work. And then with your somewhat rational mind, you go into what methods do I have available that I remember helped me when I felt this heavy. Yeah? And when I feel this heavy, there are certain things that I can do. And today I felt really heavy. Too heavy to go out and say I'm gonna do it. So I recorded stuff, I rendered it, I watched some episodes of just one episode of Queen's Gambit, played a bit of chess, you know, until I felt sick of doing that. And you know, I don't want to go down today because sometimes you have to go somewhere else. And so today it's a bit misty, you know, that's how I felt today. And now comes the funny part, how I engage with myself, you know, how I seek truth. Truth is the temporary insight of how you feel. That's how I feel. You know, it's not, you know, truth, it's like knowing and phrasing it what you think is reality. But that generally isn't it, you know. And that's why being a scientist only gets you so far. You know, you can look through a microscope at something and try to figure it out, but unless you use what you find by looking at through the microscope, you know, by zooming in, you know, you have to find, okay, unless you use what you find by looking at the microscope, through the microscope, and applying it into your own life, you know. It's like you see something by zooming in, yeah? I zoom into myself when I'm depressed, and then I look for what depresses me, you know, and then I have a method and I keep going, yeah? Method today, recording content, yeah? Method today, doing rapé. Method today, eating cake. Method today, connecting with myself, going outside with shorts, in this jacket, with this hat, and running. And these settings on the camera. You know, these are simple methods that I figured out, because just zooming into your depression, it's gonna keep you trapped in there. Because you're just looking at everything that makes you depressed. Now this is what's giving me hope. But clinging to hope is like sitting around hoping for something to happen, but unless you make it happen, all that's ever gonna be is, no, all that is ever going to be this is hope. But I don't just want to have hope. I don't want to hope for a better future. I want to actively create a better future. I want to engage with myself and in life, and when it comes to that, with other people, and then to create life so that also other people can mingle in the space that I created. And if that space is a YouTube channel, all right. If that space is a family, all right. You know, if that space is an Etsy account where you sell your creative output, all right, right? Or whether that space is, right, a party that you go to and show them how to live. But to show people how to live because you think they don't know how to live, you know, is also a dead end. Because they live how they feel like they want to live. And maybe, you know, to them, that's like mellow. You know, I ain't mellow. Sometimes I am, and sometimes I'm like, bam, right? So it's like, that's how I've always been. I've always been like scaling, only I didn't know I was doing that. So sometimes I was depressed, sometimes I was happy, right? Truth lies in the middle, in the calmness of the storm. But if you always only live in that calmness, right, you're like clinging to that. So I expose myself to the storm that's raging within me, and then I use certain methods that worked for me before, but then I also have to look at, is it still working? And it's like all methods are traps. If you're interested, Godly Substances, or reset that, look at it. It's an article, you can find it on Medium or in my website under the blog section. You know, it's specifically for psychedelics as a method to enlighten. Now, to me, enlightenment is often a temporary state. You know, I get into the place of enlightenment, but then I also realize it's not just about being like, ah, it's also about being like, ah, you know? It's about figuring it out, because everybody's different. Yesterday I went without this camera because I just wanted to do something else. So I took pictures. I had no idea why I was taking these pictures. I took about 72 of them until I realized, okay, I took these pictures for what reason? I didn't know. I thought maybe I'm gonna make like a kind of a slideshow video that's like 1 hour long, but I didn't know. So I was sitting around and then I did rapé. And rapé, like, boom! Alter, rapé is like nature's fist in your fucking face. Yeah? And in that moment something came up. It's like, wah! And then I had first the idea to ask a friend to do like short videos, you know, and ping pong, send them, you know, to me. You know, I would make a video, send it to Tristan, who does generally German content. You know, he seems to take a little break because that's also important. I sometimes do that, but I also changed my life so that I would have nothing else to do at the moment but to be creative. You know, that's a mindset. I want to be creative, so I have to do what I can to be creative. And so today, you know, I'm also learning to think less, to plan less. When I play chess, I try to wipe my mind of all ideas how to play. Because some people, they play chess and the only thing they are concerned about is winning. But that means they cannot ever learn lessons about losing, because when they lose, they think they did bad, yeah? But what is good or bad? It's a concept, right? If you know the basics of duality, then what's then? then you know there is no good or bad. You know, everything is good and bad. You know, if I win, somebody else has to lose. But that means when I lose, somebody else can win. So maybe today I needed to lose to understand why I lost, so that somebody else can win, right? He can win, I can lose, but I'm still gonna put up a fight, right? I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna fight till the end. Yeah, and either that person then finds a way to take my king, you know, or I'll find a way to take his king, right? That's like, you know, I'm playing with myself. You know, I'm determined to keep playing, but in a kind of serious way, not this kind of loose, childlike playing where, you know, you're only concerned about just playing. You know, when I'm playing, I want to be like that, childlike. But there also are times where I have to be a bit like serious, where I have to say, okay, why am I playing? And what am I playing? Who am I playing with? If I play with people who are only concerned with winning, you know, that's generally people who are afraid to die. That's connected. You see, it's all connected. It's all some kind of cycle. And there are so many options, you know. There are so many options of what to do, you know, when to do it, how to do it. And everybody's gonna tell you how they do it or how they think you should do it. And most people who tell you how you should do things generally don't do it themselves, or they're not really happy about what they're doing. So yeah, and that's why dressing the way that I dress is also that when I produce videos, that they don't all look the same, right? So I want to produce content that introduces change, because in that way I introduce change in my life, right? Maybe I won once in chess and then I'm trying to win again, only then I lose. You know, am I going to feel miserable about that? Or am I simply playing the game with an open mind? Because sometimes that's what I realized. I have within me some kind of death wish. Yeah, some kind of death wish. And then I'm playing like that. You know, instead of holding back and clinging to winning, I'm just like hammering my opponent with really bold but probably ridiculous moves, because that's also a challenge. You know, it's not just a challenge for me, because today maybe I want to be the barbarian that just jumps into the battleground and fucking kills like a berserker. I'm just gonna fucking kill you all. You know, that's how I do it in chess then, because I feel like it. You know, because there are no, you know, blood and death battles, unless I go and participate in war, but that's something I don't want to do. So I learned now, or I'm starting to learn, to let it out on the battlefield, so that I don't cling to only winning, you know, because if you play the game of life and death, you have to be prepared to die. And I can face that by doing and playing how I feel like at any given moment in time, which is basically, you know, just the present moment. You know, time is not attached to the clock. Time is simply what's happening. You could call that life or energy or the now. You know, it's a moment in which you feel a certain way. So yeah, today I felt something. I felt incredibly, actually, you know, now it's interesting, because what I want to say now, I wanted to say shit, but I actually feel happy. You know, I feel happy. Why? because I pushed it, you know? I pushed through. I felt depressed, but I faced it. It was a challenge. To me, it was a life and death battle. You know, death is sitting around at your home in front of a TV and doing nothing. That's basically death. You are decaying. Energy is not flowing. You know, every day I wake up, my room is a mess. But it's a kind of, I want this mess because it keeps me busy. So if I feel too happy, I think about what to change so that I have a challenge again. And that, of course, to some people seems like really insane because they're afraid of that. You know, I embrace it. So yeah, doing psychedelics to me is a way to look at my own suffering. Like, it's a vehicle into my suffering. Because it broadens my mind, but it also helps me to focus. So what does rapé do? You know, it's like, yeah, sure, in a way it releases energy. You know, maybe you have emotional constipation. Yeah, because you're pressing your emotions down. And then you do rapé, and then the plug is removed. And then emotions surge up, they try to get out. And that's when you have to look at them and deal with them. You know, and that's why rapé to some people who have years of emotions buried in themselves, it's like a really heavy fist. You know, in the beginning, all I could do after doing rapé was crawling to my blanket because it was overwhelming. Now I do it and I have quite some heavy rapé varieties at the moment. And that's like, you know, one is with mint, one is with cinnamon. You know, that's like quite refreshing, but it's also, boah, bam, Alter, yeah? It's like, shoo. I mean, if you think about shooting mint with all kinds of spicy stuff and tobacco into your nose, it's like your brain is like, poof, mind blow, yeah? Mind blow, bam, open, yeah? Open-heartedness, open-mindedness. It's like, whoo, okay, you know, that's how it is. Beep, 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 beep. And that's what just happened. And so now, you know, I'm always clinging to go back because I think, oh, she's gonna like it more if I know. Nothing, you know, nothing if, you know, it's not just about her. She has to get used to walking with me, even if I don't play with her. Because today I'm just, you know, just recently, I'm so busy with my own stuff, you know, I cannot go out and play with the little doggy. Because that keeps her also in that kind of, oh, I want to play. Play with yourself. And what I've realized is that that actually helps her more. Because if I only throw sticks for her, it's riling her up so much that she doesn't calm down. And that's like if you only drink coffee, you're constantly in a state of, I'm so riled up. And then you deny yourself to ever be low. And the only reason, of course, that you're doing this is because you don't know how to work with your lows. So, yeah, it's a set of methods that brings you back to a place where you feel this is it. But then, when you're in a place of depression, well, that's it too. That also is it. Well, nobody's gonna throw you a stick. You know, I'm not gonna hang around for the rest of my life and do all of this stuff. I'm doing it now. Why? Because there's still stuff I need to figure out for myself. But I don't want to do that for the rest of my life like this, to this amount. I'm doing it now so that my YouTube channel is nice and full. So that when people finally pull that stick out of their asses, yeah, they can say, all right, maybe he has something to say after all. Yeah? See, now I'm not sure. So now what's happening now in my mind is I feel a pull towards something else. But I want to create distance between me and the feelings I just left behind. All kinds of feelings. Because that's what often kept me from going outside at all. Yeah? That's what often kept me from leaving the house. Because I was clinging to how I felt there. Yeah? And so sometimes we have to create distance just to experience something else. And holding on to depression is also security, because you know how you feel when you're depressed. So if you would feel high now, you know, you would realize that there's another state of feeling, and then you either cling to psychedelics or you take responsibility and you do something yourself. You know, I'm not really sure why I'm recording myself today, because I'm really overexerting myself sometimes. But I have the feeling I want to go somewhere else now. I mean, it's not in that way somewhere else, because I've been there before. Now, you know, I think also maybe it's kind of mad to wear shorts in this kind of chilly weather. And I think, well, maybe I should have eaten something. Well, it's also a good experience to realize how you feel without eating once in a while. Just so you know, you don't need as much food as you've been told. 2,000 calories a day, you know, make you fat unless you use it to strengthen your body and to think about stuff. So the reason I eat so much is because I need that to keep me going. Because I haven't learned yet to just draw energy from myself, you know, only. So eating is one method to make yourself feel full. Being creative and meditating is another method. But if you're too heavy to meditate, you have to strengthen your body and your mind first. And that you can do by making experiences so that you grow as a person. You see, she has to, you know, because she's there, obviously. I also have something to talk about because I can observe her. She's looking for sticks because she's hoping I will throw them for her, because that for her makes it easy, so she can feel like, ah, yeah. But what happens if I don't do that anymore? Well, she's gonna find something else, right? It's like, you know, if you are constantly concerned with having sex and you don't have sex for a while, you either keep feeling miserable because you think you should be having sex right now, you know, which would have been what would have driven me to go climbing today. Because I actually didn't feel like climbing, I felt like having sex. Because I felt like sex would make me feel better, but for how long? For how long does eating something truly make you feel better? For how long does having sex make you feel better, right? It's usually just a passing moment. So it's much better to make experiences such as I'm gonna go for a hike today. Because even when I wake up tomorrow, I know I've hiked yesterday, and that may put a smile on my face. And if it doesn't, because maybe I haven't done enough hiking yet, well, I may just go hiking again. If I'm greedy for hiking, I'll go hiking. Yeah, today I was greedy for creating content, and later maybe I'm gonna be greedy for playing chess. Yeah, at the moment I'm a bit greedy for HP because I have it available, and when it's gone, yeah, I have to channel that greed into something else. So it's a set of variables that create what you may consider to be happiness. You know, happy about what? Happy about life, happy about living. You know, today I want to go somewhere that you know, sometimes you just have to walk the same path that you already walked, and then step into cold and icy water. You know, today I also don't have a towel with me. I didn't bring a backpack because I don't want to carry it. Yeah, because it's like burdening me. Extra weight, I don't need that. And that's why playing with her today, taking responsibility of, you know, so that she can have a good time. What's a good time? The way I've perceived it now is that if I walk her without throwing sticks, she's actually more relaxed. Yeah? And that's something which you may think is bad, but the thing is, if I play with her, she thinks if I don't play with her, something's bad. That's relationships in a nutshell. Yeah, some people sit around and if nobody talks to them, they think something's wrong. Why? Because you cling to the feeling that they give you. You know, if somebody talks to you, it's an energetic exchange. You can have that exchange by being on your own. You know, you can play chess with yourself, right? And now I would like to talk about Queen's Gambit. I watched the first episode. You know, some people, they just watch it and they think, oh, nice show. When I watch shows like Queen's Gambit, all kinds of things happen in myself because I use the show to figure out what I feel about what I'm doing. You know, and then all kinds of things, truth, yeah, insights, visions, they come up. You know, how she's playing chess on her ceiling, but how does she do that? You know, let's talk about this for a second. So if you haven't watched it already, right, either keep listening or watch it first and then listen to what I have to say on it, you know, depending on how you like to do things. You can watch it yourself, just the first episode, because that's all you need to understand what I'm trying to tell you. And then you try to figure out yourself what you think or feel about. And then you come back and you listen to the rest of this video, yeah? Well, the way I see it, you know, it's gonna start now. So you have to make a choice, yeah? Or you have to cling to me giving you a good time, but then face, you know, whatever is going to make you feel bad afterwards and look at it. Because, you know, Elizabeth, or Beth, how some people then call her, where actually I am a friend of calling, you know, people or things or situations by their true name. And so, yeah, I'm gonna start now. Okay, Elizabeth is a young woman, a girl, and her father abandoned her, and her mother, you know, they don't really say what she did, but she did I assume there's something about a car crash. So Elizabeth had, as a young girl, a traumatic experience. Yeah? And so she comes into that orphanage, and for some reason, you know, it beats me why they do that. They feed these children really heavy medications. You know, I don't really know what, but I know that one of them is a tranquilizer. And so Elizabeth is depressed, or at least she's dealing she's dealing with a trauma. You know, that's how life happens. Yeah, you've got something to work with, and then you work with it. Now Elizabeth has no method to work with it. She simply feels down because the weight of her experience is pushing her down. Sitz. Und los. Yeah? That's basic stuff. That's depression for you. And then she's been given these medications. You know, something, whatever, and then the green pill, which is a tranquilizer. So it relaxes you. And the first time she's like knocked out because she takes them both at once. Maybe it's one thing that riles you up, could be, and one thing that pushes you down. Fuß. And that creates havoc. And that's why smoking cannabis with tobacco, it's basically the same thing. Because cannabis relaxes you. You know, that's like an insight. I haven't made that connection yet. So I was trying to explain to people what happens if you mix tobacco with cannabis. Cannabis brings you into that space of relaxation. Tobacco actually like whoosh, pushes you a bit. And that's why rapé, it's like bam, right? It's not so soft. You know, it makes you like boom, makes you sit on the edge. So if you smoke cannabis with tobacco, it creates a turbulence, and that confuses you. While the state you want to get to is more like deconfused. So it's better to smoke cannabis on its own, or with herbs like sage or oregano, thyme. Some herbs are more gentle to the throat. I find sage does that. I've also used white sage, I quite like that. But I rather use the sage that also grows in the area that I live in. And white sage is generally imported from somewhere else. And you know, I don't really need that because normal sage is also available. And maybe it is not so specific in its needs to grow. You know, I don't know. So if you mix it, it's gonna probably press you into the couch. Smoking pure cannabis might relax you enough to become active, but over long periods of time it's gonna make you too relaxed. Because then you're so relaxed that you stop working with all the heavy stuff. Yeah? So temporarily and once in a while, cannabis can relax you, but that also means you have to know how to get back into that I'm a man, right? Because if you're too soft, you become a pussy. Yeah, and that's why I walk barefoot, and that's why today I go in shorts, so that I can push through. And the thing is, you know, I just don't want her to get too used to me throwing sticks. But when I throw her a stick, you know, she's gonna be happy about it. So it's like that balance, right? Sometimes I throw myself a stick in the form of a psychedelic experience, you know, and then I wait. I look at what does the experience tell me and how can I use that to understand, you know, what I'm clinging to, what's holding me back. Yeah. So gathering visions and insights. Anyway, it's not. You don't have to do psychedelics, but some people feel drawn to it. Despite people telling them it's bad, if you cannot get away from them, at least learn how to work with them, and that's why godly substances. Yeah, it's gonna teach you something that you might not know. I seem to know, or at least to a certain degree, because I'm still here and I'm active while I'm working with psychedelics. Yeah, that's because I also know it's a trade-off. If I use something to make me feel good, it's creating a trap. So I use it once, and then tomorrow I'm gonna use something else. Yeah, I don't just want an easy way out. I want to work myself out of this state so that I can maintain this state that psychedelics might have shown me by myself. Yeah, so that I learn how to channel energy. And for a while you smoke cannabis and you might channel the energy intuitively. Yeah, that happens. But unless you learn from that and pay attention to Amy here. Hey! Aus. Now she wants to chase a cat. Not your place to chase cats. Sitz. Und Fuß. Und los. Okay. So, yeah. Today I'm drawn into the topic of psychedelics. Maybe I have to figure something out for myself. So I'm also preparing myself for another ritual. So maybe there's a lesson here. So what's my lesson with psychedelics? Sometimes I do truffles. By now, fairly rarely, like every couple of months, until I'm back in the seat. I'm back in the saddle, I'm holding the reins, but loosely, right? Because the horse also has its own way of moving. I don't want to just control the horse. I want to become one with the horse, so that we're one, rider and beast become one when you know how to connect with it. So the energy that is inside of me, in that sense, is the beast. And in a sense, I have to tame it. Yeah? I have to tame the beast. You could call that the dragon. If you try to tame the beast by pushing it down, keeping it below with smoking cannabis, the beast will become really angry, because the beast is your self. That's your true potential. That's the genius that's hiding inside of you. And then if you push it down, because everybody else does that, or maybe some people, their beast is like, some people get raised and their beast is beaten into obedience. That's what the state does. In a sense, they beat you into obedience by giving you a version of the world to adopt and to cling to, and by, you know, showing you through punishment, you know, if you don't do that, you're bad. Yeah, so if you don't give the answers, you know, a lot of teachers are like that, at least the ones that I had as teachers. You know, if you didn't give the answer that they wanted to see, you got a bad grade. They said, no, that's faulty. You know, sometimes, like in mathematics, some children, their mind works different, or maybe their father teaches them a different method at home, and then they go to the exam, then they hand it in, and then the teacher says, well, that's an F. You know, in Germany that would be a 5 or something. You know, a bad grade. Because that's not what the teacher wanted you to write down there. Well, what do you want me to write down? Well, what I tell you to write down. And that's an interesting thing, because when the teacher realizes, you know, it's a self-proclaimed teacher, he prides himself to be a teacher. I'm a teacher, you're the student. And when the teacher realizes the student actually is like trying to rise above him, he gets angry himself, and then he projects that anger. You know, it's his own fear of being inadequate or mediocre. You know, Coach Carter has something to say to that if you want to watch that movie. Coach Carter, he said that your greatest fear is not to be inadequate. It's actually you're afraid of your own light, of your own power, of your own strength. And the only people that give you the feeling you're inadequate are people who are afraid of themselves, of death, of life. Yeah, so you are being taught already by that system. Of course, you have to understand, the system is trying to maintain itself. The system has to hold itself together, because that's what's allowing you to sit at home and watch movies and have life insurance and stuff. So of course everybody clings to it, because the system itself is also, you know, a form of being. And all the beings that are being drawn into and maintained by the system cling to the system. So if you as a free spirit come with your own ideas and you say, yeah, but I can solve that equation in a different way, they're gonna reject it, right? You know, whether or not the earth is round or flat, because to me consciousness is kind of flat. Not really, but it's like, you know, in that sense it's round. But to me the earth, you know, the way I see it, it's more like flat with a dome over it and under it. Yeah, so you this is havoc when you realize how my mind is working. It's like so if I keep that down all the time, yeah, so if I go and I play with people whose mind works in these rigid rules, yeah, if I play chess with somebody who's like pretending to know how to play chess, but he doesn't feel the game, yeah, it's gonna put me off, because I can't really win against somebody who feels shit about losing, because, you know, it's just gonna push him down more. You know, sometimes it's better to lose so that you are also okay with losing, you know, because when you die you could say I'm losing life, right? That's just how it is. You're going to dissolve back into the primordial soup of life. Whoosa! Yeah, crazy shit, right? Okay, I'm thinking about, I want to keep it short today, not overly long, you know, just to give you something to work with. Okay, so now we have talked about certain things, and I'm gonna get back to Queen's Gambit. Now, she's been giving the tranquilizer, and one of the other girls informs her that instead of taking them both at once, she should take the purple one when they give it to her, and the green one she should take at night. So when Elizabeth lies down in her bed, takes the green one, suddenly she feels relaxed, and then her mind, it's like focus. Oh wow, this is life. It's like the same thing when you smoke cannabis. Often antidepressants have THC and stuff in it, you know, things you find in cannabis naturally. Sometimes even DMT, which is something your body produces actually during meditation and sleep. It's like when you get into dream-like states, which is what shamans use to have visions. You know, that's DMT working in your pineal gland. And that pineal gland is often blocked. Yeah, so it's not just emotional, it's also physical, because both work together. Your emotional state also manifests your physical state. People who are emotionally clamped together often have like really tight bodies. And people who are like quite feminine and soft, you know, they're like, you know, more like this. So smoking cannabis, oh yeah, today I don't want to do anything. Yeah, something like that. Hier, Amy. Hier. Und Sitz. Sitz. Hei, hei, hei. Hey, Sitz und bleib. Und los. Yeah, okay. It's confusing. So what happens, she discovers there's like this kind of janitor, the housekeeper, who's doing maintenance work, which is very important because you have to also maintain the system, yeah? So there's people that work to maintain the system, and so other people can be free to figure out stuff about life because there's people like janitors, yeah? So be grateful that they exist. Only if you feel the call to do something else, then do that. You know, don't try to be a janitor when you feel an inner calling to whatever greatness is, yeah? Because if you think you're overly great, you just become an asshole. Then creating a pedestal for yourself may make you realize that one day, bam, you're gonna fall and hit your face, yeah? So that's why meditating in the woods for your entire life will also keep you away from that which creates life, which is also like other people, yeah? And all kinds of things that are happening. Whether you want them to happen or not, they're still happening, right? It's like your digestive process, it's happening, your heart is beating, you can try to stop that, but somehow it's still happening, yeah? So she sees the janitor playing chess with himself, and that starts in her some kind of obsession with chess. It's one method, okay? And then she goes back, and at night, because she's seen the chessboard, and there seems to be something buried inside of her. That's like her true potential, her genius. But because of her depression of early childhood experience, you know, she cannot unfold her true potential because she's all the time like being sucked into that depression. The weight is burying her. And then she takes that tranquilizer at night, and suddenly, in front of her mind, on the ceiling, a chessboard. You know, it's like, woo, yeah? It's taking shape. And suddenly she starts playing chess with her mind on the ceiling. But what she wants, you know, because that kind of bores her, so she's looking for people to play chess with. But she also really wants to win, yeah? And she's also good at winning, but it becomes apparent that what she needs, or she thinks she needs, because it worked once for her, are these pills. Because they lift her above her depression. And that creates her dependence, her addiction. Yeah, because the chessboard, you know, that's where she feels good, where she feels powerful, where she can win. Yeah, maybe she needed a win in life, and then she clings to that, and losing makes her angry. And so she's really desperately trying to get back to these green pills all the time. Now the green pill is psychedelics, yeah? And so let's just have a look at that, you know? See, that's a pedestal, and you're walking around, you feel like this, yeah, just like normal. Then you take psychedelics, and suddenly you're on top, you know? Well, that tree is still way higher than you are, yeah? That's like the top of the consciousness. But you're down here, still. But you're a little higher than before. And now you take psychedelics, you feel like this. Oh wow, I can play chess really well. Alright. But now you go back down here. So do you remember? Wow. Wow. All kinds of spiky things. Yeah? That's the thing. On top of there, it felt quite safe. Now down here, I have to deal with, you know, let's say I would be somewhere in the forest. Where there would be carnivorous animals that are huge, like bears or wolves or, I don't know, panthers. I would have to deal with that. You know, I cannot hide on a tree all day. It's like monkeys living. You know, they live at night, they retreat into the trees. And during the day, they live on the ground. But they also have a sentinel all the time. So, when it comes to yourself, you have no sentinel, like a person at a certain age. You know, at a certain age, your mother stops watching over you. The state can only watch over you in a certain way. And that's where we come to the higher self, to your own personal observer. And that means you can learn to watch your life as the observer. That's what psychedelics can give you. They detach you from the misery of how you feel. Yeah? But sometimes it's impossible because there are so many things happening. It's hard to keep your mind there, to keep your mind open and stuff. It's like, is he gonna throw a stick now? No. Yeah? And so, just a second. Aus. Komm. Amy. Yeah, I have to keep her from thinking that that's the stick I'm gonna throw her. Okay. So she's being lifted onto a pedestal through a substance that she ingests. Yeah, you may also get that through smoking. I've said that. You may get that through eating things, drinking things, you know, all kinds of ways. That may induce a state from the outside that you then put into yourself. Yeah. But your body is actually designed to do that naturally. And for that you have to harvest. You have to grow. You have to plant seeds, which may be a method or something. Yeah, and then you can harvest the fruits of these methods. Because now, you know, on top of that tree stump, there were no stones. You know, I felt kind of safe. Feels kind of elevated. Now I'm back down here. I have to face spiky things. I have to face other people, you know, that gonna pass me. I have to face all kinds of things. And then the trick is to learn how to be elevated by doing the things that help you to get there. So this morning I ate cake. And while that kind of elevates me, it also means if I'm elevated for a bit, I'm gonna crash again. And I can make that crashing a bit more gentle. So often people take psychedelics, they're like high, boom, you're gonna crash again. Yeah? So first time you do it, you feel great. Next time you do it, maybe not so great. And you keep doing that because you're ignorant, you're a fool. Yeah? You don't pay attention. You keep crashing and crashing and crashing. Well, you're gonna do that until you feel so shit that you're gonna say, I have to stop using it. And then maybe for 2 weeks you stop smoking and then you're gonna start again. And then the same shit is gonna happen. And you either learn from that or you don't. You know, some people then become afraid of psychedelics. Yeah, that's what a lot of people have. To me, yeah, I have respect for psychedelics, just as I have respect for life. Yeah, so I'm not just gonna teleport myself to the top of the Kilimanjaro or the Mount Everest, you know, without being prepared. Yeah, so I prepare myself through life so that, you know, when I get to the current pinnacle of myself, you know, it's the highest state that I can reach at the moment, where I feel incredible bliss and at peace. I also know how to hold it for a while, so that I can like gently soar through the air and then land a bit more graceful. Sometimes, you know, I land not so graceful. So today, you know, I fed myself with cake. I drank black tea with that ginger and stuff. And then I was creative, you know, that kept me going, that kept me busy. I concerned myself with matters of chess, good, by playing chess and by watching that series. But I also felt like I really need also to do something relaxed. You know, I didn't have the energy to stand, so I sat in a squat and with crossed legs. That's already a challenge, to not just slump down into your couch. So I don't have a couch. You know, I have one mattress. You know, in some of my videos you see that mattress. It's not that really thick one. It's like a 5 centimeter mattress out of natural material called kapok. You know, it's like a yoga mattress, but more like with stuffed stuff. That's the place I sleep on. That's the stuff I do rapé on. That's the stuff I sit on when I feel too weak to stand. So that's the process, because right now I'm like being weighed down by my emotions. Yeah. So I give in a little to that. Just a little. But when I feel it's getting too heavy, and it's so heavy that I cannot find the strength to go outside. I do rapé, and then suddenly, okay, take the camera. Oh, fucking hell, I just made 4 videos. Why do I still have to take the camera? Well, because my feeling says so. Yeah? And now I want to retrieve that frisbee, but I don't want to go and swim. I don't know if I'm gonna find it, but I might. And there I see it already. Oh boy. There she goes. And that's all what I wanted to do today. Because that was one of the things, you know how ridiculous it sometimes is. What makes us to feel happy. Yeah. It's like sometimes what makes you feel happy is a task you haven't faced yet. So that's a task, to go and retrieve that bloody frisbee. Because I think, oh, when I go there I have to swim. You know, now I went here and I said, I ain't gonna swim because it's too much at the moment. You know, it's already a stretch for me to go and walk her today, you know, and I stretch it even further by putting on shorts, yeah. And now also I just wear a t-shirt and that jacket, you know, that's a stretch for me today. Maybe to Wim Hof it's not a stretch, he's just doing that, but he had his own challenges to face. You know, he said it openly, you know. No, I don't want to say that. You know, if you're interested in Wim Hof, you have to watch Wim Hof, you know. It's not my place to say anything about him. And now she's more happy with having the frisbee than actually having me throw it for her. Yeah, so today I'm gonna get back and I'm gonna feel a bit better because at least I did something, yeah? I didn't do the most strenuous things. I did some easy to fulfill tasks. You know, I didn't do like 1 hour recordings for my channel. I mean, now I'm doing, but that's something else because I'm outside. Then for me, generally, because energy is already flowing, nature is helping me to stand straight. You know, it's like, okay, it's easier to talk. When I sit at home and I record an episode, that generally drains me because there's nothing that fills me up. So today I did these short 9-minute recordings and stuff for the Ping Pong Mind Games playlist. And that's okay. And maybe when I get back, I might eat something. Or I'm just gonna make tea. And I'm going to play chess maybe, yeah? Might be. Or maybe I'm just gonna sleep, yeah? So when everything got too heavy, I did rapé. But rapé is also to me, in that sense, safe, right? Because I know what it does to me. I can somehow envision what's gonna happen. But I also know that when I start with rapé, it's going to start a whole series of other things that I then have to deal with. Topics that come up, anxieties that I have to face and deal with. You know, that's a challenge. Yeah. Come. So going up here certainly is a challenge. But I've done that already. And I know my legs are really strong at the moment. Yeah. And this is not frozen, so I can dig into this a bit better, you know. There's no risk of creating a real landslide, you know. Now I'm up here, I want to run. Because I feel cold. And that has to change. If you want to see what I do here, check out those videos called Kind of Here. So that's what I mean with emotional treadmilling, right? Treadmilling, push through it, like work it out. Right? If you're sitting on a like these boats, like a pedal boat, you have to pedal to get somewhere. That's why pedaling is a method. Pedaling is a method. You know, sport is a method. Hiking, therefore, is a method. Meditating is a method. Psychedelics are a method. And I mean, some people are really preoccupied with psychedelics. You know, you eat something, it's basically psychedelics. Anything in that sense is psychedelics. Because it's something. You know, you're tired, you eat something. Maybe if you're tired, you could have done something else to get energy, but you ate something. Sometimes I feel like really fucked, and then I do rapé. And in that moment it cleanses me and it frees me. So retrieving that frisbee seemed like an impossible task, because I thought if I go there and retrieve it, I have to swim. Now I showed to myself that I was clinging to an idea of how to do things, but that there are other ways of doing it. But that's for me to decide, yeah? Just because I went there and swam once doesn't mean I have to swim again now. It means that when I feel like it, I can go there and swim. But if I don't feel like it, I can still go there and just go in with my feet, for instance, or retrieve a frisbee. And that means just because I have psychedelics doesn't mean I have to use them all the time. But the thing is, when you have psychedelics at home, you will be more inclined to keep using them. So if you don't want to use psychedelics, simply stop buying them. Yeah? And even if it's just for 2 weeks, right? You can try and say, okay, aus. You see her entire focus is on that thing. And when she has it, she feels like suddenly she's relaxed. And then she can lie around and she can chew on it. And then she feels like, you know, super happy. Yeah? When I take it away, she wants me to throw it. so that she can have it again. And that's then you take psychedelics away from yourself, because you are no dog and probably nobody's gonna do that for you. So you do it yourself. You take them away from you, and then you're gonna throw it to a place somewhere in the distance, and you wait till you get to the point where you feel like, okay, now I'm at that place again. So in the end, you know, what's the matter if you don't smoke for 5 days, 6 days, 8 days? Maybe try not smoking for 1 day. Yeah? And then maybe you smoke again for a week, and then you say, okay, I'm gonna try that again. And this time I'm gonna go walking. Or I'm just gonna, I don't know what. Right? Or while you're smoking, you're already introducing change, doing other things. Yeah, I know that you want this. So the problem Elizabeth is facing then is that without the pills, she cannot play chess. So she's in a tournament, and she's about, you know, she's facing the last contestant, and she gets to a point where her mind is like blank. You know, she's like closed up and all anxious. She is not relaxed. And then she goes to the bathroom, eats that pill, goes back and wins. Without the pill, she would have lost. That's it. Yeah? But, you know, I rather try winning without pills, or playing or living without pills for a while, so that I can learn to do that well. You know, I want to be skilled at living, and I don't want to be too dependent on things. You know, clinging, letting go. I cling to a method for a while, then I let it go for a while, until I get to a place where I discover it again, and then I engage with the method, and then I let it go for a while. So, you know, sometimes I write, sometimes I read. Sometimes I watch something, sometimes I make movies. Sometimes I draw, sometimes I sing. Right now, I don't want to sing, so I make other things, I talk. That's how it is. Yeah? That's generally how it is. For me, anyway. So, that means you have to figure it out. Because you're an individual. You're very specific. Your needs are specific, your goals are specific. If you don't have goals, set yourself goals. You know, not just, I want to go running, but why do you want to go running? You know, what's my purpose in life? If you have a purpose, my purpose is in that sense to share, but I also have other goals. You know, being a father, being a husband, you know, having a family, you know, engaging with people, teaching them, doing ceremonies and rituals, dancing around the fire, right? To live well, yeah? So, these are some of the goals that I have. And I realized that in order to reach those goals, I have to learn what helps me to do that. Creating content helps me to achieve those goals, to create an income. In order to create content, I had to watch my diet, because I realized that eating too much sugar for too long makes me feel miserable. And that means I sometimes need other forms of energy, such as protein in the form of chickpeas or lentils. You know, that could be something to do for the day. Only right now I can say fairly certain I don't feel like it. maybe tomorrow. Or maybe I'm gonna eat soup, because I think there's still soup available. Yeah, or yeah, I think that's might be a good idea. Or maybe I'm gonna eat eggs, because making lentils is maybe too much. But only if it's, maybe it's just too much because I think about making it instead of making it. Because sometimes thinking about doing something is much harder than to simply start doing it. So thinking about stopping with psychedelics for a while is harder than to stop. Because if you think about it, you're living in that fantasy, you know, I could do it. Well, as if you would do it, you would actually learn something, which is, okay, how to live without them. Because shamans don't do that all the time. There's always phases where they don't do it. You know, and that's what, when we come to spirituality, there's a ritual involved. You prepare yourself, maybe 1 or 2 days before that you don't drink coffee. You know, you don't eat meat, for instance, or you don't have sex. And then you go out as a shaman into the forest and you do ayahuasca. And then you get visions and then you go back. And then you bring the visions into the village. Yeah, and that's then how it generally works. So now my left hand was getting like, Fuß. Fuß. Here. What is this? Bleib. Well, sometimes we walk here and she's like super content to walk behind me. And now she wanted to start running. Fuß. Fuß. Hey! Los! You know, I don't like this. And that's why I don't like this shitty frisbee. Now I'm gonna put it back, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to retrieve it, so now I know I have it. I'm not gonna take that shit thing anymore. What the fuck are you doing? Like, it's like her mind is all scattered now she has that frisbee. You know, it gives her a feeling of, you know, I've won. Here. No, she's like carrying it around, like proud as some kind of shitty thing. Just the sight of the frisbee is making her like, ah! You know, her head is all in the clouds. Because that's releases probably what you may call endorphins or dopamine or whatever. But in the end, it's a feeling that she connects to the frisbee. Yeah? It's a feeling she connects to the frisbee. You know? With that frisbee, she feels like, happy dog, playful. She's just running around. She doesn't listen anymore. So if you think psychedelics are the only thing that makes you feel good and you keep smoking, you know, every time you don't smoke, you want to smoke again. That's just stupidity. I mean, that's just what keeps you wasting your potential. It's gonna get worse. I've seen it. I've experienced it. You know, I've seen it in other people. I've seen it in myself. Yeah? And then people get to these places where they don't trust themselves with psychedelics anymore. Like I say, to me that's just as bad. Because if I become scared of something that once helped me, you know, I'm gonna live in fear of ever touching that again. You know, it's like being a former alcoholic, and then you keep living in the fear of ever drinking again. Of course, maybe it's just good for you because you don't know how to handle it. But then also, right, if you continue living without alcohol, you can realize, oh shit, I actually don't need it anymore. It actually gives me more energy. But then you have to work through your shit. Because then it's not the cannabis or the alcohol that's gonna alleviate your pain, numb you or make you high. No, then you have to put in the work to work yourself out of your weakness. Yeah, and put the energy back into yourself, so that you actually create some kind of cycle, so that energy circulates by moving your body and by replacing whatever negative stuff you harbor with some kind of positive stuff. But in the end, you need both poles. A magnet has a negative and a positive side, you know? You have a male and a female side, you know? And that creates friction, and that produces energy. It's like a dynamo, right? I think that's how it works. You know, battery, positive, negative. So I use my negativity to push myself out. But if I have too much negativity, it immobilizes me. And that's why today, for an instant, I had to work against the imbalance of all that negativity that is there. Whether it comes from the outside, from other people, or whether this is just me, doesn't matter in that moment. What mattered to me was a feeling to humble myself, to say, today it's not enough to meditate. And it also ain't enough to create content. It also ain't enough to eat cake. Today then I need rapé to push myself. And that's, you know, false pride. You know, some people, they walk around like this. I don't need anybody. You know, I could live my life and say, you know, I don't need all these things. I don't need psychedelics. I don't need rapé. I don't need people. I don't even need food. You know, that's false pride. That's like saying, I can do it all by myself, you know. You know, I don't need anything. False pride. And that keeps you in the lower regions of yourself. Because somebody sent me like a chart, and it said that pride is like, it's low vibrational. Because it's pretending to be like super well on your own. But I ain't. I mean, I'm alive, and without other living things, I wouldn't feel alive, because nothing would ever happen. You know, I would just sit around in a place, in myself or something, and I would get incredibly bored because there's nothing to engage with. So at least, you know, I can be angry at her for clinging to that frisbee, while, you know, I'm clinging myself. And, you know, I don't want to have a frisbee. I want to be with my woman. My woman, I say that because in a sense, I find it okay to say that. Because that's how I feel about her. Yeah? That's my problem to deal with, and none of your concern. Yeah? So while on some days I'm perfectly fine to run the whole day and to have my hands just outside of my pocket, today I feel like I want to have them inside of my pocket, because that warms them up. So, you know, sugar and cake, they certainly lift you up a bit. They give you energy, but they don't really nourish the soul. Not every day. Neither does bread. Sometimes we need something warm, something else. Something that actually has to be cooked and stirred and properly seasoned, and then the body feels better. Yeah? And that means it's something you have to prepare yourself to do. You know, if you're too lazy to cook, then make a plan. Say, I'm gonna cook tomorrow, right? I know there's pumpkin in the fridge. That's something I can do fairly easy, right? So now I'm walking, I'm making a plan. So maybe I don't feel like making soup. What else can I do? I know I have chickpeas. I know I have pumpkin. I know I have potatoes. You know, I can make, whoa, an omelette. Oh yeah. I can make an omelette. And I can put fry, it says now in my mind. Fry potatoes with pumpkin. Make an omelette. Put avocado on top. And then it says chickpeas are for later. Right? This comes from within me. Why? Because I'm forming an idea. Or I am uncovering the idea. Because the idea was already there. Every time I open the fridge, I see that pumpkin. Right? If I don't prepare that pumpkin today, you know, mold's gonna settle on it. Then I can't eat it, and then I'm gonna feel shit about that. And then I'm gonna have missed the opportunity to eat pumpkin because I was too lazy to cook it. Yeah? So I'm gonna miss the opportunity to be with the woman that I love more than anyone, or that I want to be with. It's not just about loving her. You know, sometimes it's in a sense about hating her. But that just shows me something, how much I just want to be with her, because I like watching her. She fills me with joy, yeah? And that's what you need. You need things that fill you with joy. But that also means, you know, it's gonna be scary to lose these things. And you might lose them if you don't work for that. So I know such a fine woman as her, I have to work for that. I have to fucking earn it. You know, I have to make friends with the beast inside of me. You know, that inner dragon. Because if I don't do that, it's gonna devour me. And then I'm gonna be really angry and miserable, and I'm gonna get really sick. Yeah, I'm gonna get really sick. And I don't want that. You know, I don't want to be tense and tight. And I don't want to cling. So I want to open up to everything. When I'm angry, I'm angry. When I'm tired, I sleep. Yeah? Sometimes I'm too tired, and then I just have to do something to push myself. Yeah? So, you see, there's so many variables that make the difference between, you know, a heavy or a light day, you know? So it's about observing what creates either of them and then checking what you need. Because if you're too light, you're going to be soaring around and the wind's going to blow you away. And that's why I know that depression, that kind of heaviness, is also somewhat what keeps me down at the bottom, you know? So to keep my balance, I need to know how to mix these things, you know? How much do I need to sit and how much do I need to dance? Yeah, how much do I need to run and how much do I need to stand? Yeah, so I learn in all kinds of positions to channel my energy, because if I'm channeling it, I'm creating two circles. One on the right side, I think it's going like this, yeah, that's how I imagine it sometimes. And on the other side, one that's going like this, yeah? And maybe it's going the other way around. Maybe it's going like this, maybe it's going like this. Yeah, I think it's going more like upwards. I don't know. So sometimes I'm laying in my bed and I feel like there's an imbalance. And then I imagine two circles circling against each other, you know, with closed eyes. And that calms me down. It's a form of meditation. Focus on your energy field. But I only got to that point after like 4 years of doing these kinds of things. You know, suddenly I felt it. I felt there was 2 circles like this, and that's the magnetic field, you know. These things circling against each other create the magnetic field. And I felt like they were like, you know, if you imagine having 2 tires, it felt like one was flat. It's like, you know, it was too jiggly, too wiggly. So I needed to focus on that. Do like this, you know. Karate Kid. You first do this with your left hand, you polish the car, and then you polish it with your right hand. Right, and if you've done enough polishing, the polishing goes on by itself. So you have to keep polishing and cleaning your mirror, because in that sense you are a mirror. And what you want to be a mirror for, you know, it depends you. If you want to be a mirror to anger, I'm going to be angry. You know, if you're going to be a mirror like, you're going to be some kind of fool that other people will exploit. You know, it's like Tom Cruise. You know, they say he has this charming smile, you know, because he can literally charm people into liking him. But he's not just that. I mean, he's not just that charming guy. That's just a mask he wears. Yeah? To get people to like him. And that's okay. I mean, in a way he makes great movies. But movies also create a lot of trash. The movie industry is like keeping people trapped. You make a movie, you want people to watch it so that they can like say, oh, awesome guy. Yeah, so you can have a piece of his glory. Only you can't have that piece, because while he's jumping around with motorcycles, doing base jumps, you're sitting on a couch or in the cinema, yeah, and you're watching him do things, yeah, while you're basically helping him to do things while you do nothing. Up. Hier. Sitz, bleib. Platz, bleib. She's too eager to get that. And now I'm gonna take it away from her. I've thrown it. Now I'm going to take it myself, so she knows how to feel. Hier. Fuß. 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 Hier. Different feeling, right? It wasn't that like for her. No, I threw it and she had to come to me to get it. You know, it wasn't that like bouncing off into the distance, like completely riled up. Now it was like, I'm taking it away from you. You have to wait, then I'm gonna give it back to you. And that's why I say to you that there's a reason why in the village there's usually one shaman. You know, it's like a medicine man. Because some people, they use psychedelics, but they don't know how to use them, so psychedelics use them. Because when you use psychedelics, you have to become aware of all kinds of things. You know, there's It's spirit work. There are spirits. There are entities, you know, voices you're hearing. Who do you think that is? You know, I cannot explain to you all of these things. It's just how I feel about it. Because sometimes there are voices saying one thing, and then maybe I have to do the other thing, yeah? There's all kinds of distractions is what I'm saying. And you have to figure out who to listen to. And if you have been using psychedelics for the past couple of years, and you haven't figured out how to work with them, then I tell you, maybe they're not for you. Maybe what you have to find is a place where you can do this with a properly trained shaman. Or you have to teach yourself. But to cling to psychedelics, because you think, you know, it's cool to do it or something, is just, yeah, well, is it ignorance? You'll have your reasons, so don't be too hard on yourself is also true. But then you have to figure out a way, right? Because what I've realized is, yeah, I did go to these rituals, to these ceremonies. But at a certain point, that didn't work anymore because I was outgrowing them in a sense. You know, I was more getting back to myself, which is at a certain point I didn't need these ceremonies anymore. I wanted to make my own things. I didn't want to go there and have them tell me stuff because I started to figure out these things on my own. And I realized if I go there and I ask for help, you know, they're gonna treat me like I need help. But at some point I just say, I want to help myself. And that means you have to take responsibility, yeah, and place it into your life. Because if you don't do that, you know, whoever, the state, your parents, life is going to do it for you in a certain way. If you don't take responsibility for your body, you know, life may make sure, because what stands still starts to decay. Yeah, if you stand still, you will decay. All right, everything nice and clear now. And so Elizabeth had nobody to tell her that there are other ways. If she would have had a proper teacher, and that teacher would have shown her to also strengthen her body, you know, it's what her stepmother once said to her. And her stepmother said, not a stepmother, she adopted her, so foster mother. She said to her, maybe, you know, instead of just playing chess all the time, because that makes you feel good, maybe you should go out sometimes. You know, do some sport, physical activities. And that's absolutely true. Because if I just sit around playing chess all the time and getting high on psychedelics, you know, I'm missing out on other things, which is doing this here, which is actually what I really want to do. But I also want to move on, I want to progress. And that's why yeah, I'm simply doing that. And now I walk to her, and I don't know why, but inside of me it's like sadness welling up. You know, because I really like her. And I don't know why this is happening now. So, right, I felt like I'm gonna go hike to the climbing hall. And then I got down to business. I realized I just wanted to do that because I actually want to have sex. Yeah? I actually want to have sex. But because I know, you know, I'm not gonna meet my wife there. It's just what I feel like. Because I'm also in no place to face her. I mean, she's a tough woman, you know, and so I need to present to her the best version, you know, that I can be in the moment. That means I have to keep it together. Which means, you know, I'm not gonna jump into some other woman because I feel an incredible connection towards her. And that means to me, I have to take responsibility for how I feel. So instead of looking for somebody to sleep with and wasting all that energy to walk to a place where I think, you know, I might find somebody to have sex with, you know, I spend time with her because she's a woman in that sense, yeah? She's like female energy. And she gives me something that I really need at the moment. Up. No, she doesn't want, okay. Then I say, okay, keep it. You know, it's okay. So if I'm trying to take psychedelics away from you by telling you stop it, but you don't want it, well, that's your choice, yeah? You know, it's like if I'm trying to take sugar away from me, that generally doesn't work all the time. So sometimes I have to feed myself sugar at the moment to keep going. So that's why I do these things, because I keep going, yeah? I'm doing all the time, right? What I need to do, sleeping is doing something. Eating is doing something, yeah? Cheating is doing something. So I don't want to cheat myself from the things that I want, you know? I want to be true to myself. So if I'm cheating myself, I have to look at that. Yeah, I don't want to cheat anymore, you know? If I don't have what it takes to play Super Mario till the end without cheating, then I'm not going to play it at all. You know, previously I was a cheater. I was always cheating. In that sense, I was phony, like a lot of people. You know, pretending to feel good, although you feel bad, is cheating, right? But if you feel bad, you know, you don't have to be really angry. You can simply be in a state of, okay, today I'm feeling a bit bad. And then you start speaking truth by saying, today is a tough day. And today I need maybe to hold myself, to embrace myself, to eat cake. Sort of a comfort food, yeah? Because that's what I need today. So I'm going to do that. And then if eating cakes means I'm going to fart a lot, I'm going to enjoy farting. I'm going to like really enjoy sitting in that stench, in that vicious smell. But at least it's my stench. And I'm sitting in it and I'm like being creative, like going mad. You know, I'm going nuts about being creative. So, you know, that's why I like having my own space. And if you don't have that, create it for yourself. You know, I don't know, if you live in a small apartment with a partner, it's really hard. But what you could do is you could prepare a room that maybe has been used for something else previously. If you have a living room, I would suggest take out the TV and create some kind of place where you can gather and engage with each other. Where you can play gentle music, I don't know, where you can do a cacao ceremony together. Cacao ceremonies are fairly easy to do. You just look at videos, how other people do it. You check online where you can buy ceremonial cacao, and then you can start practicing. It's a very mild psychedelic, but you can still do ecstatic dance with it. You know, you can cuddle with each other. You know, it's like nature's balanced version of MDMA. You know, it's a mild thing, but if you overuse it, it may create an imbalance. That's just how it is. That's how I felt. So, right, if you go outside or you open your window and you hate the chirping of the birds, and you observe yourself, right? You remember how to observe how you feel, yeah? By paying attention to yourself. And you realize, today I'm really angry and I hate the chirping of the birds. I hate everything that I hear. Okay, then you have to start working yourself towards, living the state of acceptance, that you at least can feel content. You don't have to get like, oh, I love the chirping of birds. You can just be like, oh, nice, there's a bird chirping, yeah? Maybe that's all you're gonna get today. And maybe tomorrow you're gonna wake up, gonna be like, oh, what a beautiful day. But instead of then jumping around and spreading your happiness everywhere, you're just gonna hold it on the inside, right? You're gonna smile to yourself instead of smiling to others, yeah? And then you can fill your own cup. That's why sometimes I go outside, I started to hide myself, I don't hide from myself, but if I go outside, I'm not all out radiating love to everybody, because I don't have that ability. Not generally. So I learned to hide myself. Why? To protect myself from greedy people. They're gonna suck me dry. Because I have to feed myself. By holding my own space, also without psychedelics. And psychedelics to me is just a way to show me how. It's a teaching, it's a lesson. And then I incorporate it, right? Working myself to that feeling. I'm just repeating myself. I hope you realize that. I've said these things already. Today I just felt like repeating them. Why? Because there's a lot of content out there that I have produced, but every time I talk about it, it also changes because I keep changing. I make new experiences, I have a different perspective. I talk about it in a bit of a different way. So sometimes I also talk about these things because I have to hear it myself, yeah? So maybe somebody's gonna watch this video and it's gonna be good for him. And maybe somebody else is gonna watch it and think, well, he's already said that. Well, then you move on, right? You either move on to the next video, or maybe you listen to some of my songs. If you really like me, you like what I'm doing, you like my style. Don't put me on a pedestal. That's what I'm trying to say. That's not where I belong. I belong where I am. And when you think, you love me, or I'm awesome, you want to have my children, or I don't know, you want to go hiking with me. See yourself as that man that you think I am. Yeah? And then create it for yourself. Take what you can, man. Because I'm giving, I'm here, I'm giving. In that sense, I'm holding out my hand, but you can't take my hand.